In this video, we're going to learn about commands that will help you do system administration on your Raspberry Pi. Here I'm connected to my Raspberry Pi. I SSH'd in from another computer. Some useful commands to take a look at your Raspberry Pi or Linux computer is the Uptime Command. This will tell you how long your computer, your Linux computer, has been up and running, current number of users, and the load average, and the current time. So using the Uptime command helps. I can also type the command who, and this tells me who currently is remotely connected to this Raspberry Pi. And here you can see this is the computer of the MacBook that I'm connected on. So I am the user Pi on sudo tty connection 0. And this is the date and time that I made the connection. Now yesterday I logged in as Pi from this computer. This is another this is another Linux computer that I use to remotely connect to my Raspberry Pi. So if you want to see what those different users are doing on here, we can type users and just see a basic users. It's not very useful command, but a quick way to see what users are logged in. But another way that we can see who is or who's doing what is with the W command. So the W command shows us a combination of the uptime. It shows us who is connected from what login and which users are connected. So we just combine the last three commands into one command, W. So here's my uptime, the user, and you can see what CPU utilization that they're using and what they just did. So here's me. I just executed the W command from the remote computer 192.168.111.93. On this computer, it shows that I logged in on Sunday at 10 o'clock, and I'm running the top command. What is the top command? Let's take a look at it. So if I use the top command, this shows me the top processes that are running. At the very top, I can see CPU utilization. I can see memory usage, how much is total, used, and free, and the different tasks or processes that are running. So I can then hit the letter Q to quit out of here, and it takes me back to the command prompt. If I hit the top command again by typing TOP, it takes me back in here, and there's other commands besides Q that I can use within top. If I hit the H key on the keyboard, it gives me different interactive commands I can use. So I just use the Q to quit, but I can also use the K to manipulate tasks or kill. So kill will kill a command, and R will renice it, or let the command or the process shut down nicely. So I just hit the enter key and it takes me back here. So if I want to see the top command that's being run by the Pi user yesterday, this is the one I'm running for the last 20 seconds. But you can see this highlighted in dark blue. There's another top command being run by another user. So what I can do is kill that by doing kill and then the process ID. So the process ID I want to use is 14621. So K 14621. Okay. Process to kill 14621. And send the signal, and it looks like it killed it. So let's double check to make sure that that actually worked. It's Q to get out of it. And the command, if you recall, is W to display that information. And now we can see that that user remoted in on Sunday at 10 o'clock from the other computer is now only running bash. It's running back at the command prompt. It was kicked out of the top command. So some useful ways to administer your system. Take a look at who and what is running on your computer. We could kill that bash connection, and now that user would be disconnected. Well, we're not going to be that mean. Alright, so some other commands you can type. If we found out the commands and people who are logged in. I can also use the who am I in case you're connected and not quite sure who you logged in at. But my prompt and those few other commands I just typed also show me that. But I just want to show who am I because it is there. Alright, next we want to take a look at is how we can manipulate files back and forth onto our Pi and download them from the internet. So to take a look at how we manipulate files, I'm going to show you a few different things, SCP and wget. So we can download files from the internet, and we can also transfer files from one computer system to another. So first thing we're going to take a look at is wget. And I'm going to download a file from the web. So I'm going to open up Safari, and I'm going to download the Linux Network Administrator's Guide. This is an open source chapter 1 of a book that O'Reilly has published for free. I'm going to download the HTML file, the chapter 1 HTML file. So I'm going to copy the whole URL. I'm going to go back to the command line, and I'm going to do an ls just to see. I don't have a chapter 1 HTML file in here. So now I'm going to type the wget space, and I'm going to paste the URL I got from the web browser. So it's going to go to O'Reilly.com, open book, Linux Network Administrator's Guide number 2, book chapter 1. Hit enter, and it will download that file. So this is a great way if you need to download zip files or other things you might want to install on your system. Again, your Linux system is going to have to be connected to the internet. We'll talk about that in another video. But it connects out to the internet, connects to the web on port 80, and does the HTTP request to get that file and downloads it. And it says it's saved, as this is the name of the file that I saved it as. So now if I do an ls, I can now see I have chapter 1 of that file. So if you recall from other videos, to take a look at that file, we're going to use the more or less command. And I'm going to hit enter. And now I can go through and see this HTML file. I can narrow down and look through different things. So this is great. I downloaded a file, lots of text in it. I can read through this. It's HTML, probably best read in a text browser, but if there's certain information I'm trying to get out of there, I can use the grep command. So I can grep IBM out of chapter 1, and it didn't find anything because it is case sensitive unless you use a variable. So IBM and chapter 1. So there it found the words IBM. If you want to take a look at more grep and how to use it, you can use the man grep command to look at the manual for grep, and you can see that you can use a variable option here to not worry about the case. So ignore case is -i. So if I do a repeat my command, -i space IBM, hit enter on that, it will now display it. Any words that have the IBM in it or that are capitalized or lowercase. So useful thing to use grep, and we saw that we had a file that we downloaded from the internet. Now let's say I want to get a file from a computer. So if we take a look at W, we can see that I'm logged in from my MacBook at 192.168.111.93. So I have a file in my home directory called intro.doc. I'm going to copy that file from my home directory of my MacBook to the home directory of my Raspberry Pi because I want to use that file for something. So I'm going to use SCP. SCP uses the SSH protocol, and that tool will ensure that the file transfer is encrypted. So I'm going to use SCP, and I'm going to identify the location of it. So it's Aaron. It's the user Aaron at 192.168.111.93 : Now I have to identify the location of it. Well, I know it's in my home directory, and the shortcut for Linux systems is /intro.doc space, and then I need to identify the place I need to put it. And I want to put it at this current location that I'm at, and I can represent that with a dot. So now it'll download that file right here in this location. Hit enter, and it says, okay, that host, we can't identify the RSA fingerprint. This is the key that I'm going to use to encrypt the data. Do I want to accept this key? I type yes, hit enter, and then type my password for my MacBook. And then it shows the intro file transferred, 100% of it transferred, and the time it took. Now let's take a look, ls, and I can see that I now have a intro file right here that I downloaded. So that's a way to transfer files from one place to another. Now if I want to transfer a file to my Mac, I do just the opposite. So I do scp from my local directory / I type, let's put chapter 1 out there, and let's put that on the MacBook as the user Aaron. So Aaron at 192.168.101.93 :/ and here I'm going to identify this as the actual name of the file I want to put there. So chap1.html. Hit enter and type in password for my MacBook, because now I'm putting a file in my MacBook, and it says the file chapter 1 has been uploaded. Well, let's take a look. Let's go to my, and if I look in my home directory, I should see there's the intro file I copied, and I should see my chapter 1. If I take a look at that real quick, this should be the Linux Administrators chapter 1, Introduction to Networking. So just went through how to copy a file back and forth, and a few other administrative tasks to see who's connected and what they're currently running. Let's take a look at one more useful command to end this little tutorial, and it's the Alias command. So when I do an ls, it just displays the contents of the file. The contents of the directory. But I like to look at the listing of files and directories with an ls-l. But typing ls space -l is tedious. So I want to create an alias. I want to create a file. So if I type ll, it'll display the contents and long listing and all the files. So it'll do ls-la. This command I like, because that shows me all the hidden files and all the information about the files and who owns them. So I need to create an alias that says ls space -la with just typing 2 letters like the ls. But I don't want to mess up ls, so I'm going to create an alias called ll. Some Linux distributions already have this alias that's created. So I'm going to create an alias by using the alias command. I'm going to say alias ll equals tick ls space -la. So that's the command I want to run, is within these 2 single quotes. So now when I type the command ll, I will now have the Linux system will interpret it as ls space -la. So now if I type ll, I should get a long listing and show all the files. So that's another great way to do commands over and over again on your system that you need to administer, and create some shortcut aliases to execute those commands that you do every day. Hope you enjoyed all this, and we'll be back with more videos.